To talk about the female game. It's been my life for a very long time. It is my absolute passion, and I have the opportunity, a very unique opportunity, to do this as a living. When I sit down and explain to people or kids kind of what I do for a living, it's one of those things where I have to sit down and think about it myself, because I get into those days where it is a routine and it is a lot of work and it is this and that, and I'm tired and exhausted, but I have the opportunity to get up every day and build female hockey for a living. I get paid to do this. If you would have told me when I was 10 years old, I wouldn't have believed you. And most of the time, I don't even believe people know that my position exists. So I want to make sure that everybody around here understands the knowledge and information. And if you take anything away from any of the talks that we do today or anything that I say today, take away the fact that information is everything. And this is where we live in the world of female hockey today. Information is what we need to have, it's what we need to pass on, and what we need to cherish as we move forward. The current state of female hockey. Right now, it's impressive. We're almost at 87,000 female players across Canada. Considering where we were, say, in the 1990s when we had our first Women's World Championship, we have come a very long way. But I'll tell you this right now, we have a very long way to go. It continues to grow. In the past 6-7 years, we've kind of leveled off. Since the 1990 championships, every Olympics, there was this huge catapult right after every one of them. 98, boom. 2002, boom. But as soon as 2006, 2010 started coming around, it kind of leveled off, and female hockey is right at that pinnacle where we're growing, but really not at the rates that we'd expect and that we want, but we are still growing. That's the name of the game. Here in Manitoba, you guys are brinking on the 6,000 mark, which puts you 5th amongst the ranking in Canadian branches. It's a good place to be, and the one thing that I loved, and when looking back at the record in Hockey Manitoba, you guys are the ones that are still growing. Every year, without a doubt, Hockey Manitoba female hockey is growing, and that's an awesome stat to see. The overall growth in Canada has leveled off, so that's why I'm here with you guys today. What can we do to grow the game? What are those little things we can do on a day-to-day basis? What are those big things we can do and the goals that we can have? And how can I help? How can Hockey Canada, Hockey Manitoba, and the people that are here for you, what can we provide and help you as we move forward into the next kind of generation of girls coming up to play? Looking at how we get into that success. We have a lot of things, not in our way, but a lot of opportunities to embrace, a lot of factors, and I talked about a lot of them yesterday, but a lot of things we have to take into consideration when we want to try and grow the game. Cultural diversity is huge in Canada right now. We all talk about everyone coming in, everybody who's living here, all the people that we have, and the backgrounds you have to take into account when looking at what our game is. Our game is it's a one-way street in hockey. It is what it is, and you come in and we kind of have that mentality of embrace what we do. But what are we doing for those people who come in and are seeing hockey for the first time, who have lived a very different lifestyle until they step foot on our soil? How are we bringing them in? How are we embracing our next-door neighbor or somebody who's just coming in for the first time? I know facilities and ice times, this is one that comes up a lot when I ask people the challenges that they do face in growing the game, and it's something that's out of your control. You know, we go into the novice and IP and the opportunity for you guys to share ice, which brings, you know, an opportunity to have more time on ice. You have less of it, but what you can do with a half ice and novice kids is amazing. So now we have 2 teams at once. You're able to save a little money, you're able to have more ice during the season, and we're figuring out ways to overcome the situation that we're dealing with in terms of facilities and ice right now. We have a lot of other sports in Canada, as we discussed as well, and this is something we have to, again, embrace. Not something we have to look at and just throw our hands down. I was talking yesterday, girls who play ringette, it's probably one of our biggest challenges, right? Because it's a very similar crowd that we're both going for. How can we work together on that? Girls who play soccer, I don't know about you guys, I grew up in Northern Ontario, and every girl who played hockey played soccer in the summer. It was like an ultimate transition. But knowing that, are we talking to the girls who play summer soccer? Are we asking them to come in? Are we inviting girls over from other sports? In university, I played for Ottawa. I was a GG my life, and whenever we'd finish tryouts, the day that we would finish tryouts and the cuts would happen, the rugby coach would be standing right there. She'd be right at the door. Every girl who, oh, I'm sorry you can't make it, she'd be right in their face. So, you got cut. And she'd be recruiting them because hockey players have very similar statures, have very similar qualities that she wanted for her rugby crew. So why aren't we vice versa? Why aren't we looking at girls to bring them over from other ways? And if they play other sports, how does that transition? Hand-eye coordination, baseball, every other, we promote the multi-sport. Now we have to bring the multi-sport in. And technology and education, like I said, this is the growing one. and how we can overcome this. How can we spread the word? How can we reach out to people? How can we get girls involved or teach them about what our game is and bring them in? And technology and education is what we need to really express and take in as we move forward. The amount of people, women's hockey is not easy. And Scott asked me for a quote, and I said, women's hockey does not fall into young girls' laps in Canada. You don't just wake up every day and see it on TSN in the morning. You don't wake up every day and find a poster on your way to school. Or female hockey is not everywhere you look. We have a responsibility to bring it to the girls. We have a responsibility to teach them and to let them know how they can find it and where they can find it. And that's where technology and education comes into play when looking forward. Other ways of looking at this, everyone deals with the girls of hockey differently. I mean, going into rural Newfoundland, they have very different issues than you guys have here in Winnipeg, than people have in Toronto, than BC deals with. Everyone has unique things. But looking at the bigger picture of everyone wants to grow the game, looking at a realistic picture of how big it can get with what you are dealing with, and then breaking it down into smaller and smaller options. In Alberta, I was just dealing with them last week because 60% of girls who play hockey in Alberta play on the boys' side. That's a huge number. So we're talking like over half of their players are not even in the female game yet. They're over there and expanding. So how do we reach out to them to let them know? It's not mandatory that they play female hockey. That's not what we're going for. It's not the world where we say this is where you have to go. But how do we let them know what's out there? How do we help them understand what female hockey is really like? I see a lot of ladies in here, which is awesome. If you guys been in a women's change room before, it's a good time. It's a fun place to be. Boys, you don't understand. Okay? What happens in a women's change room stays in a women's change room. But those girls who have to change on their own in their own rooms, they have to go to other places to find it. Then they come in just before the coach kind of does their spiel, and then they go out. It's great competition, no question. You know, a lot of the men still feel, a lot of dads try to encourage their girls to play. They think it makes them a better hockey player. Feel free to feel that way. But understand the social side of the women's game is very unique. I tell girls all the time, I went on a trip last year. If I go anywhere in this world, almost anywhere in any country in this world, I could knock on a door and be like, hey, I played with Sally at this point. No way, get in here. You're part of a very small, unique, intricate web, and you are always one person away from knowing somebody that you played with or she played with, and then you're friends instantly. It's a very unique setting that when you come over to the female side, you get to experience. So even if girls are out there playing other sports, they're playing on the boys' side, whatever they are, having those smaller little events that girls can come in and experience, that part of the social thing, really attracts and really kind of gets them excited about what could be. Girls, if you want to graduate and you want to go into university, if you want to come into our Hockey Canada high performance programs, the under 18s, the development and the national women's team, you have to play on the female side. Eventually you have to come over. That's just kind of the way it goes for the most women. If you want that opportunity, you have to come over. So what can you expect? When do you come over? What are the advantages of being over here versus over there? Those we can argue till the cows come home. But letting those girls know early what it is like on that social side is such a huge component of female hockey. I very much encourage that. Options for funding. I think I was just looking through that booklet that you guys got as well as coming here, and they beautifully lay out a lot of funding opportunities for you. But one of the top questions or emails that I get on a daily basis is, Mandi, where can we find more funding to build our association, to build our team, to build opportunities? And funding is a big one. But there are options if you're willing to look and research for them. You guys have the standards here in Hockey Manitoba. You have it written out in your pamphlets. You have the government that can help you out a little here. You have businesses that can sponsor. You also have Women's Champion. Have you guys heard of that one? The Dairy Farmers of Canada, now sponsoring. They just gave out 30 grants of $5,000 each, whether it be to an individual, a team, an association, or anybody related to building female hockey in Canada. They just gave that out. So that was something that could be applied for, but we have to make sure that the knowledge is out there, that it is there. So the more funding you get, the better, but it's out there and we have to do a little research. It doesn't just fall into our laps. That's up to us to look up for that. The marketing and messaging, like I was saying, with females, we're a different breed. We're very unique creatures. I get this. We're complicated. We got a lot going on. We overthink things. We try too hard. We need to please everybody. We're very complicated. I get it. So when marketing the hockey game, to females, you have to approach it differently than you do with the guys, right? You put 10 clips up of just body checking, body checking, body checking. That's great, because that's exciting and all that stuff. You'll probably get 2 to 3 out of 10 girls excited about that. But if you show them the change room environment, you show them the celebrations afterwards, you show them the social side of things, you show them on the bench and how the camaraderie is, you show them 20 years later when my best friend at 10 years old is still my best friend, that will get about 8 out of 10 girls. So how are you marketing the game to them? How are you reaching out to the females instead of, everything I just listed there had nothing to do with the skill on the ice. Had nothing to do with come out, get some exercise, be exhausted after 60 minutes, train and try something new that you're probably not good at and your girls' friends are gonna laugh at you when you can't do it right. It's not really the way to message out to females. We have to think about what inspires them to try something, what inspires them to feel confident, and what inspires them to come out, gain more friends, and have a lot of fun. For the adult hockey opportunities, looking at other avenues there, I know a lot of women right now, when we reach the age of 18, we ask ourselves, where can we play? Because there's not a lot out there for post-18. We're at this lovely growing stage in female hockey where we're doing such an amazing job at grassroots. We've got the CW and all the adult ones coming in, but where does that 18 to 25 area lie? And I know Mr. Kirk Kuppers here has been my champion I've been in this job 5 years, and I think he was the first man I met, and I've never met somebody more passionate. But we, as a whole country, have to look into those opportunities. I play currently, I still get to play in Calgary as part of a league in the Southern Alberta Women's Hockey League, and I've never seen anything like it. Because we have 42 teams of women like that, but it's a unique situation where we want to keep growing the adult and growing us. My generation was that huge push coming out of the 90s, and now we're growing up and we're going in and we're making those decisions on families and career and everything that we have to deal with. But we need more options for girls to play. But we need more girls to have more options. And this is where we end up in that chicken and egg situation of you guys, but the more we get girls excited about the game, the more social we make it, and the more opportunities we have, women will naturally grow into it as we get older. If we enjoy it when we're 16, we're still going to play it when we're 25. We're still going to seek it out when we're 35. And I hope my intention going along the way would be that I can still seek it out when I'm 85. Because I want my friends trying to body check me when I'm 85, and I think it'll be hilarious. Awards. This is something I think is very much overlooked, and just something small and significant that can go a long way. At Hockey Canada, we have our AGM every year. So every year we have 5 awards that are given out. One of them is for female, the development of female hockey, which is fantastic. The other one's, officiating, general volunteerism, kind of leaders in our community. But when I went through and looked at the list of females that have received these, it's sad. The Female Breakthrough Award, absolutely, we have a few females and then males sprinkled in there, but the other ones, it's rare, very rare and few and far between. And you cannot tell me that we don't have passionate women that have been working day in and day out for years to grow our game in every facet. So small things like this and the recognition. I give out an award at the SO Cup every year to a female hockey player that gives back to their community. Recognizing one female, anybody who plays hockey, you could be at the top level, you could be Adam B if she did something that gives back to her community. We fly her out, make this a big deal, bring her to dinner at this huge championship that takes place in Canada. We bring her up on the podium, you get to have this award and feel good. I received 5 nominations last year in the entire country. 5. But it's mainly about awareness. Do you guys know that this exists? The Isabel Gathorn Hardy Award? If I say that, does it resonate with anybody? It's about the information and about the knowledge. The more we know, the more we promote, and the more girls can look forward to things like that. So small little goals can be such an impact on the bigger picture that that's where we need to look. Role models and building the future. And this is where I'm going to challenge you guys a little bit, and I'm not meaning to do this in any haste or any means of that, but it starts with us. If I were to bring a 6-year-old girl who just started playing hockey in here, I don't really expect her to know everything. I don't expect her to know everybody, the history and all this stuff. But she's got to recognize that women play for Team Canada. I'd like her to know that as the NHL sits out there, there's a CWHL that balances it out, that's available to her. Does she know this? U Sports, you guys have a great university here, University of Manitoba women's team. As a coach of the Dinos, I hated how well they did last year, but I'll give it to you. They're pretty good. They're a pretty good hockey team across Canada in the rankings. And then, of course, your sports schools. You have these elite opportunities. Has anybody in this room brought females to watch these games? You have the University of Manitoba right here in Winnipeg. And how many in this room have attended a game or brought somebody to attend a game? That's my question. Here's the challenge. This picture right here is the current list of 28 females that we have living in Calgary that are vying for the opportunity to play at the 28 Olympic Games. This is our national team. There's 28 of them right there. We're going to narrow it down to 23 before we take them over to Pyeongchang. How many can you name? Just by looking at that picture. How many of them represent Manitoba? A lot of grumblings, a lot of thoughts. If you can't look at this picture and name 6, I'll give you 6 of these women. How are our young girls supposed to be able to name them? Who's going to teach them who they need to look up to, what they can do in life? This is the most important thing. This is the women, and this, we don't have that luxury of them playing for 20 years anymore. The Danielle Goyette's, the Jana Heffords of the world. I don't know if we're going to get that far because the skill is coming along so quickly that we are going to be turning over more often than that. So I bet against people playing for that long anymore. But these women right here are exactly who our young females need to know. And if they don't, what do they have to look forward to? I could tell a kid, hey, you're going to be, the next Erik Karlsson. That's fantastic, but what does that mean? Okay, so I'm going to play in the NHL someday? Is that her goal? A realistic goal in life? But I tell her, hey, you're going to be the next Hallie Krasaniak. What does that mean? That's a realistic, a wonderful, an epic goal for this girl to have, but she has to understand what those words mean. And it doesn't only start here, looking at the history of it. This is my second challenge. What about these ladies? Can anybody tell me what these ladies have in common? The one thing that they all have in common. Not that they played for Team Canada. It's not that easy. Who's that? Captains. You are looking at the captains of our women's national team at the World Championships since 1990. This is a challenge that I see Mel Davidson put out onto the table. And again, this is the lack of response and the jump ups and that we know. These women are amazing. These are the women that I looked up to. Sue Shear over there is the first captain of our 1990 women's world's team. Wore pink. In which city? Ottawa. But she now today still lives in Ottawa, still gives back, still coaches her kids, still gives back to the female and coaches the bantam level out there. Is an amazing woman who inspires girls every day. But even those girls on her team, do they know who she is? People know Cassie Campbell-Pascal. They understand who she is now. Why? Because TSN, CBC, she does the Hockey Night in Canada stuff, and that's why we know her. I was here a couple years ago, just working here, and Megan Mickelson was with me. We were out on the ice with about 40 girls, and we did a skill session, had them all out, and I brought her onto the ice, and I was like, girls, do you know who this is? This is Megan Mickelson. You guys might know her because she played at the Olympics. She's a women's team national member. She's amazing. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, she was also on the Amazing Race Canada. And they went nuts. Oh my God, that's where we've seen her before. She was the one. Her and Natalie Spooner. Oh my God, they're hilarious. And I was like, really? That's what you know her from? It's Amazing Race Canada brought her more attention than 2 Olympic golds? Really? But that's kind of the age in which we live in. But we need adults, and I take full responsibility for this, and I put it in part of my thing, is to educate young females on who they need to know, who these women are, the amazing things they've done. And every time I do a skill camp, or anytime I get a gathering of women or girls together, I ask them, who's your favorite player? More often than not, I'll get a male response, and then I ask them, who's your favorite female player? And I usually get the rhyming off of Haley Wickenheiser, because that's the easy one. It's what the name everybody knows. So you got to go further than that. You got to challenge them. Okay, who's your next favorite player? Who's your favorite defenseman? Just these little tiny things that educate the girls on what they have to look forward to, who they have behind them, who's supporting them, is a big deal that we don't know. I started handing out posters. Our centralization girls, the national women's team is living in Canada, or living in Calgary, sorry, as of August. They're going to be living together as a team, training right until they head over to Korea. They're playing in the Midget Alberta League on the boys' side, and so we started handing out just simple posters. So I said, how many of us had posters of hockey players on our wall as kids? It was like a rite of passage. You had them up there and they're epic, but we don't do that much these days. Everything's about technology. Is the person on your phone? Do you have a picture? Nothing's real unless you have a picture of it. It's not the same as it used to be. So trying to get those girls back and connecting with the people that they know and they need to know is what I think we're lacking a little bit. If they don't know any better, we have to teach them who to know, what to know, and all that stuff, and then give them the opportunity to experience it. Like I asked, anybody here who's involved in female hockey, if you've never brought a female to a University of Manitoba hockey game, what do they have? Have you ever sat one of your females down in front of the TV to watch a national game when they play the US? The CWHL, I understand it's not here yet, let's hope, but they live stream all their games. The Clarkson Cup, all the games are on the internet. Has anybody ever sat down and watched those? Or got their team to gather around the championship game to watch it on the web? It's a harsh reality, but it's true that if we want to grow the game, what are we growing? You have to know what you are trying to grow. You can't just say, it's got to get better. My girls have to have more opportunities. We have to take accountability for understanding the game itself before we try to push it on our girls. You guys here have an amazing opportunity. December 5th, right downtown Winnipeg, you are going to have the Team Canada versus Team USA taking part here. Hands up, how many knew about this game? Awesome. Every single female related to the game should be at this game if they are available, if they're not grounded or have homework. I want to see them in the stands. I'm going to be back in December 5th. I'm going to be working with these guys, trying to do as much as we can to develop the local game, and then we have this game, and I hope that those stands are packed. I've been to a Winnipeg Jets game. I know what it can feel like in that arena. It's very unique. You guys are amazing fans, and I want the same for this. Because if we don't bring this and accept this and push this, then what are we asking our girls to do? So reminder, December 5th, little plug, but it works. So now looking at the format and the options that Hockey Canada has for you guys and getting back to the fundamentals, and the information and all that is what I'll express the most, but I also wanted you to be aware of the current programs that we have to support you guys in the growth of your female hockey. Now World Girls Hockey Weekend is taking place actually next weekend, October 6th to 8th this year, but it typically takes place every Thanksgiving. Thank you IIHF, 8 out of 10 years it falls on our Thanksgiving. But this is something that we can take advantage of. This is an amazing opportunity that all around the world for one weekend, every federation comes together to celebrate the female game. Here in Canada, we do this in a pretty unique way of asking you guys, the associations, the families, the individuals across Canada to just host it in your own way. We don't give a mandate of what it's supposed to look like. We don't give instructions or how-tos on what the event is or what it is. I said you could bring your family around and watch the repeat of the gold Sochi game. That's celebrating to me. If you have a practice already scheduled, let's take a minute to talk about the female team before we start here. If you have a game that weekend, whatever happens, it's unique to you guys to celebrate. And what we started doing last year is everybody who registers that event online, so I'm going to have a party with my team, I'm going to watch a game and have a cake. I tell Hockey Canada about it, and we started shipping out toques. so the toques that these girls are wearing here, to everybody who participates. So if you have 20 girls on your team, I ship you these nice little toques, and when we get a year-round kind of marketing for the female hockey in Canada. Right now, I think if I were to look back, we have over 250 events again this year, but the number has increased. I think we're going to hit about 18 to 19,000 participants in Canada this year. So looking at that, we've kind of done a little promo just to teach about the weekend, if we could hit play on that bad boy. See if I have better luck than you, TA.
The 6th annual World Girls Hockey Weekend will be on the ice around the world from October 7th to 9th. Dozens of countries will be celebrating female hockey this year, and Canada will lead the way. Our goal is to host the most events from coast to coast to coast, and we need all Canadians to do their part. During the weekend, individuals, families, communities, and minor hockey associations are encouraged to organize a local event celebrating the female game. These events can come in all shapes and sizes, from road hockey games to even your teacher's lessons plans. Here are some ideas to get you started. All you have to do is register online at hockeycanada.ca/WGHW and tell us about your event. To show our appreciation, Hockey Canada will provide World Girls Hockey Weekend toques for everyone who takes part in your event. Female hockey continues to be one of the fastest growing sports in the world, and on World Girls Hockey Weekend, we honor the players, coaches, officials, and volunteers that have helped get the game this far, as well as those who will be the future of the game. So this October, get creative and help Hockey Canada show the world why we lead female hockey on and off the ice. Register your event today and join the celebration heard around the world.
So that was last year's. I'll fully admit that I just wanted to give you guys the full idea of what it is. So we had Cassie come in and support us in that, but every year this is going to take place, and every year it's going to be the first weekend in October. It aligns itself with the International Day of the Girl as a day off, and we want everyone to participate in this. This is a great opportunity at the very beginning of the season to have girls out, to host a learn to play situation, host a coaching kind of event, getting everybody excited for the game and having reason. And then we have these toques, and we kind of increase the coolness in them a little bit this year. But we have those out for you guys to give away as freebies just for participating, highlighting that social side of the game for these women. We also have a new event. So when we started World Girls Hockey Weekend, I started 5 years ago, and we had an idea on the board that we got to come to life. That year was called the long game. So what we saw happen was, it's a cascading game that, if you picture one game that starts in Newfoundland, it's 1 hour, then it moves over New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, all the way over. So hour by hour, this game moves across the country, including the north, and we accumulate that score all the way to the end. So it ends up being 62 to 58. We do a red-white. So we did that in 5 age categories. So if in a single day, we had 5 games cascading across the country, and we called it the long game. So it was a unique experience for girls to participate in. And now I thought about this, and I said, we could go bigger. So I presented the IIHF with this concept, and in 2015, they agreed to make it a real thing. So in 2015, we did the long game concept around the world. And on our first try, we had 30 countries take part. So we started in New Zealand, and same thing, hour by hour, a new game started in a new country, coming all the way around. We had to take a pit stop in Europe because there's so many freaking countries. We had to take a blackout there, then we got back to it, and we continued, and we got Canada to be the anchor event in that. So we had 30 countries taking part as one game, 2 teams, all united. And we continued that. That was our first kick at the can, and it went very well. So we continued it, but moved the date in 2017, just this year, and we had 39 countries. So a big increase of people, very excited about the opportunity. And here in Canada, it's unique and it's hard because we only get one game. 1 hour, one game to represent our entire country. So the first year we were scrambling to get it together. it worked out and we hosted it in Quebec. And then last year we had an idea, and the OWHA stepped up to host this. And what we did was we had 20 players from Ontario take part, and then we had 20 players from the rest of the country. So we flew in kind of 2 players from each province to come in and take part in this game, just to make it a full country situation instead of narrowing it down to 1. So this concept is going to continue. Again, we have the game in 2018, and this is an opportunity just for 2 players out of your local area to come in and take part. And another way to celebrate, another thing the girls can pay attention to, that we are celebrating across the entire world. So stay tuned for this one in March of 2018 as well. Push it. SO Fun Days. This is a female recruitment. Has anybody hosted an SO Fun Day in the room? Seen a few? Okay. This is a learn to play in a pretty package. It's basically a 1-day or 6-week event, but the SO Fun Day is made to bring females together to try the game for the first time. We do, as you can see, off-ice components, on-ice components, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Like I said, you can host a single-day event, which is an hour of off-ice and then an hour of on-ice, or you can stretch it out to have a 6-week. So you do that hour on, hour off to start, and then you have 5 additional weeks of ice time with the girls. The expectation is that they're brand new to hockey. This is their first time. When somebody hosts this in your association, you come in, you pay for the ice, pay for the rental space to do the off-ice. We'll ship you free jerseys for all your participants. We now have little blue pucks, so you get the little the lighter pucks for the kids, so it's a little bit easier. And a little package that you also get on how to host. Here's some ideas on off-ice stuff to do, on-ice stuff to do. Once you've wrapped up your event, you let me know how much it costs you. And a single-day event will reimburse you up to $400, and a 6-week event will reimburse you up to $800. So the expectation is it doesn't cost anything for your participants or for you, being that I kind of balance the budget out there. But this is what we're currently doing to recruit females in hockey. And I know I've been coast to coast to coast, and people are saying this is one of the programs that helps the most. Last year we had 75 events. I think we do an annual starting in July, so we are now 3-4 months in, and we already have over 40 hosted at the beginning of the season. So this is available to anybody, associations, teams, anybody can host these. You just have to go online to the it's actually hockeycanada.ca/SO Fun Days, and just register it with us. And it's that easy. It's a nice tool that you can use at the beginning of the year, or you can use at the very end of the year once people have that excitement and kind of continuing on. But it's available to you year-round. Next step on this little journey of the recruitment programs is the first shift, the Canadian Tire First Shift. This is another way of getting kids involved, but this one includes the equipment. So we partnered up originally with Bauer, now Canadian Tire took over this one. But it's 6 weeks of skill development. The kids come in on the first day and they get suited head to toe. We're talking everything, skates all the way through, helmets, gloves, sticks, the whole 9 yards for $200. So you get the 6 weeks of it, the full equipment, the experience, the skill set, everything, all that for $200. These ones, to host the first shift, it has to be applied for. I mean, the stats on this one are ridiculous on how many it's grown, how well it's grown, how many kids it's recruited into the game. And it's probably our fastest growing development tool that we have out there. Looking at this, with SO Fun Days, what I do is, SO Fun is a nice little free opportunity for people to just come out and try. And if you want to borrow your football shoulder pads from your next door neighbor to come out and try an SO Fun Day, no problem. You do what you have to do to get on the ice, to be covered. In some, it could be soccer shin pads, as long as you have everything covered. And then the next step for me is what I do. Everybody who hosts an SO Fun Day, I very much encourage them to then look at the first shift as an option for your association. This is something you come in, they can host 60 to 75 kids all at once getting in there. And it's a very price-wise acceptable option. Moving on from that, you try an SO Fun Day for 1 day, then you can try it for 6 weeks, including the equipment, and then it's yours to take home afterwards. So both of these are our biggest recruitment tools moving forward that are available to anybody in this room. Just wanted to make sure you had that information. We are coaches, another opportunity on the female side specifically that we're developing and looking forward to this. This one encourages all female coaching clinics is what we're looking for. Sometimes it's hard when you're dealing with the female game. You might have 17 men in a room and then one female dealing with that. It's a tough situation for some of us to speak up, to talk about what we're going through, to actually understand. And you know, when I sit up here, what I've learned over the years, if I just say the word hockey, your mind automatically goes to the male game. It's just the way it is. I have to say female hockey to get female hockey generated thoughts. So when we're looking at something such as a coaching clinic, when you're up there talking about hockey this, hockey, all that, sometimes it can get lost in translation, that female side of the game. So we developed an opportunity to work with your branches to have all female coaching clinics. So this is very much encouraged, whether it's 8 females or whether it's 15, the number is that we're allowing less people to come in because we understand how small of a niche it is. But I also very much encourage this as a team bonding tool. So if you have a midget or bantam female hockey team, putting them through the Coach 1 is perfect. And this program makes it free for them, free for the players to take, free for you guys to host. So this is a funding option for all female coaching clinics that is out there. Additional development tools that we've tried to create over the years is helping girls understand both sides of the game and helping to connect with them on that social level. I think every time I talk to females, the biggest thing that they're using right now is Snapchat. It's ridiculous, but it's out there. Unfortunately, but they're all so much about the social side that we want to make sure that the visuals and the media and all of those things that we get out there apply to them on the level that they'll understand. This simple poster I kind of made to put around, but it touches on everything that women's hockey can bring to your life. So I said I'll get you guys an actual version of it to go bigger, but highlighting that the shoulder is not only about the strength of the shot, but it's also about your friends being able to lean on you in hard times. You have your leg strength on one side, but you're also humble on the other. Learning that as I need to grow. It's talked about a job. Officiating is a job. Being in hockey is like having a job. You're responding to your boss, you have responsibilities, you have to be on time. The amount of things that you learn in female, just in hockey in general, but on the female side are huge. And we wanted parents and females to know and have a visual of what you do get to take away from that female game. So when you're looking at marketing your associations, your teams, your new opportunities, your little events, make sure that it appeases all of that stuff. It's not just about the skill, it's not just about come out and be better, but make it exciting. Make it a fun and safe environment for everybody to come into and really push those outside sources. Because one, yes, your snapshot will be great after this one, but you'll also get to meet new friends, have a great time, and learn something when you leave. This female hockey guide is something I developed when I think my second year kind of at Hockey Canada. I grew up in lively Ontario, proud to say I did. It's a one-street town just outside Sudbury, kind of in northern Ontario, and I loved it. But I didn't get to play hockey until I was 10. I was a figure skating phenomenon. No, I sucked. But my dad moved me over to female hockey at 10 years old. So I sat there and I've been passionate about the game ever since. And the things I wish I knew when I was a kid, everybody says that to themselves, but specifically for me, it was, man, I wish I knew what opportunities were. I wish I knew that, oh my God, you could play for your province. I wish I knew all of these things. So I sat down one day and I put it all in a book. Put it all in a little guide for females to pick up that outlines everything that you need to know about playing female hockey. Where are the university teams? When you ask a female, do you know that you can play in university? 1. Do you know how many universities there are in Canada? 2. Do you know what the CWHL is? All of these opportunities that are out there, but do we know? So this little guide here has everything that a female needs to know about moving on. If I asked you guys right now, how many people in this room could tell an 8-year-old girl how to make Team Canada? What are the stepping stones that you need to go through to make Team Canada? Bam. It's not as easy. You can't just do it one day, right? You have to get into the provincial stream. The biggest encouragement I can get anybody is to play. Most branches have under 16, working on that kind of level. Get into the branch system early, because that's how we feed. It's like a feeder system. But in the guide, the very first page says, that's what it outlines for you. Here's how to make Team Canada. Biggest question I get. You start here, you work your way there. As you get older, these are the steps. There's an under 18 national team. There's it used to be under 22, now it's called the development team, that intermediate national team, and then there's the big stage, the women's national team or the Olympic team. There are 3. Just that alone blows people's minds when I talk about saying, you can't just say Women's Team Canada. You have to specify what age level. So something like this helps outline for them what they need to know. It's available online all the time for download. I do have the opportunity to print this throughout the year and bring it to events that I do, but I very much encourage your girls to go on and take a look. There's even a workbook in there that if a 17-year-old is looking to go to university, or I guess we have to 14 now, looking at the university options, as young as they get, there's a workbook in there. What do you really need to consider when you move into that next step? What do you want to do in life, and where do you find the information? Everything I very much encourage you to check out would be considered inside that book. And of course, our Hockey Canada Network app, I believe you guys have this outlined again in your booklets. But this is a little gadget that we came out with. We said, you got to roll with it and embrace it, that we now have an app that's available on Android and Apple as you go forth. It has everything you need, from an individual to a parent to a player to a coach. Everything that you guys need is in this app. Drills, articles, videos, all sorts of things. It's the biggest resource that we have, and it's right at your fingertips. Yesterday, everybody put up their hand that they had phones in their pockets right now, and this is right there, all available to you guys at all times. So for me, I said the biggest strategy we have when looking at this, coaches, I understand we're all volunteers, we're all working hard, we all have full-time jobs, and then run and have to coach and have to do all this stuff. So if you're leaving the office at 4:30 to get to a practice at 5:15 and you have to eat and do all this stuff, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my team? We have it outlined for you. All you have to do is pull out your phone. You have a practice there ready for you that you can send to your assistant coaches that they're ready for it too. You guys are all on the same page. And down the line, we'll get to the part where you can just throw it onto a TV on the screen. We're going to have TVs in every rink next 10 years. But we'll get to that later. For now, just understanding how big of a resource that this opportunity is for you guys. I very much encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. There's all the things I just said while looking at the picture. So next steps, and what I very much encourage with regards to female and growing the game, I can't stress it enough that information is everything. You guys encouraging the girls to know what they need to know, you guys bringing the game to them, whether it's through the internet, through TSN, through bringing them to the game on December 5th, bring the game to them and teach the girls what they need to know. Prioritize your team and association needs. Where are you missing out? What age levels are dropping off? Where are the concerns? Officiating, are you up to date on that? Coaching, how are your female coaches doing? Do they feel comfortable? Anybody who's coaching female, are they understanding the needs of our very complicated species? Do they get where they need to go? Asking questions, building your resources, getting that information together, and then having a short and long-term plan. We know you want to grow the game, but what does that mean? What are your specific goals in growing? And then working backwards and setting those small events to get to the bigger picture. This is the biggest kind of piece that I have for you guys. So information is gold. Hope to see you guys on December 5th at the game, and every single female that you know. Thank you very much.